Hello my motor enthusiasts, buckle up for a thrilling ride.
Hello Enzo, been hearing a lot about the Qatar Grand Prix recently, haven't we?
Indeed, William. A race that was as physically demanding as it was exciting. Max Verstappen took the trophy home this time.
Blimey, Verstappen does seem unstoppable, doesn't he?
Quite so, but it wasn't an easy victory. He had his fair share of challenges, especially with the mandated 3 pit stops and limited stint lengths.
True, Red Bull usually excels in tyre management, doesn't it?
You're spot on, William. And talking about performances, McLaren too had a strong race with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri.
Norris, starting from P10 and finishing in 3rd place, that's quite an achievement, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Piastri, fresh from his sprint race victory, also held his own.
Sounds like the McLaren drivers have been on a roll.
Indeed, they've had 3 consecutive podium finishes. But all of this didn't come easy, the extreme heat and humidity posed quite a challenge.
So, a lot of grit and endurance required for the Qatar Grand Prix, eh?
Spot on, William. And it's not just about this race, but also what it means for the championship standings and the future of racing.
Blimey, looks like we're in for a high-octane discussion today.
Well, hello there, my motor enthusiasts. I'm your host, Enzo, a petrolhead and Formula One aficionado. Broadcasting from London, right here on the F1 Motor Fever podcast.
And joining Enzo on this thrilling ride, I'm William, a seasoned sports commentator and a Formula One enthusiast from Birmingham.
We're here every day, bringing you the hottest news and insights from the racing world. If you're enjoying our chats, do subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications, drop a comment, and don't forget to share with your fellow motorheads. Your support helps keep our engines running.
Indeed. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on our daily broadcasts.
Absolutely, William. We've got some exciting revelations coming up. I mean, I can hardly contain myself. You won't believe what we're about to share.
Sounds riveting, Enzo.
Oh, it is, William. This news is not just a significant moment in the championship race, but it's also a testament to the resilience and determination of these drivers. So, stay tuned, folks. Now, let's kick this into high gear. Full throttle. Now, our listeners might remember the intense press conference post the Qatar Grand Prix, hosted by the FIA. Top 3 finishers, Max Verstappen from Red Bull and Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris from McLaren, were the stars of the evening.
Right, and the interviews were conducted by none other than David Coulthard. Quite interesting they were.
Absolutely. Lando Norris, who managed to grab the 3rd place, spoke about the physicality of the race. He admitted it was a tough one, but also a great result for the team. He referred to it as probably one of the hardest races he's done.
One can only imagine the state inside those cockpits with all the heat and humidity.
Indeed. And on top of that, the 3-stop strategy made it physically even harder. But Norris did see it as a nice challenge and praised the performances of his fellow racers, Piastri and Verstappen.
Spot on. And speaking of Piastri, he had a bit of a scare there, didn't he?
He did. He thought he'd been given a 5-second penalty for track limits. But he was actually awarded Driver of the Day. What a roller coaster of emotions that must have been.
Sounds like quite an eventful Grand Prix it was. Plenty of action, suspense, and some heart-stopping moments.
And plenty of lessons to learn for the teams and the drivers. It's all part and parcel of the sport, isn't it?
Couldn't agree more.
A great revelation came from Oscar Piastri regarding the heat in the cockpit. Imagine this, he described the race as 57 qualifying laps. That's a testament to the physical endurance these drivers possess.
It's incredible. And he's a rookie as well. I can only imagine what a seasoned driver such as Fernando Alonso must have gone through.
Verstappen, who won the race, also noted the toughness of the competition. He said that the first stint made his race and that he had to constantly manage the pace to ensure the tyres were in good condition.
And that's the trick, isn't it? It's not just about speed, but also about strategy and making sure your car can last the distance.
Spot on. Interestingly, Verstappen pointed out that he prefers weekends where they can push as long as they can on a tyre, rather than being forced into pit stops. That's normally their strong point.
Makes sense. It's all about how you balance your speed and the lifespan of your tyres. It's the real art of racing.
It sure is. And despite winning his 3rd world title, Verstappen remains focused on the races ahead. He's already looking at ways to improve in the future. That's what champions are made of.
A true testament to his professionalism and dedication. No rest for the champions.
Verstappen's victory didn't come easy, even though it might have seemed that way to the spectators. He pointed out that the first stint made his race, due to the strength and durability of the tyres. Additionally, he had to drive longer on most of the sets due to a bit of a tyre offset compared to McLaren.
That's interesting because it gives us a deeper insight into how these races pan out. The tyre offset could indeed make a significant difference.
Exactly. And Verstappen noticed that the gap looked closer than it should have been in some places. He did encounter some traffic and had a slow stop near the end, which allowed the competition to inch closer.
A slow stop can really turn things around in a race, can't it? I've never thought about it from that angle.
It does indeed, and the three-stop rule imposed by the FIA didn't help matters either. Verstappen pointed out that their car is good on tyres and they would have preferred longer stints.
The three-stop rule did make the race a bit more demanding. Now that you mention it, it's quite a good point to ponder upon, especially considering different car strengths.
Verstappen also mentioned how physically challenging the race was. He attributed it to the fact that they had to push quite hard out there. In the end, many of the racers were quite exhausted.
That definitely adds another layer of complexity to the race. It's not just about the car and the strategy but also about the physical endurance of the drivers.
Verstappen commented on the track surface at Lusail, observing that it did grip up a bit more. He suggested though, that Formula 1 shouldn't be the first to drive on a new track. He highlighted how the cars slid around due to lack of grip during the first practice.
That's a valid point, but I'd argue that being the first to drive on a new track can add an extra layer of challenge and excitement to the race. It tests the adaptability of the drivers and teams.
I see your point, but that uncertainty could potentially lead to unfair advantages or even safety concerns.
That's true, but it's also part of the sport, isn't it? Adapting to different conditions, pushing the boundaries, and dealing with the unexpected are what make the races thrilling.
I can't deny there's some merit in your argument, although I still believe that safety should always be paramount.
And I completely respect your viewpoint. It's normal to disagree on certain matters. The important thing is that we keep an open mind and continue these insightful discussions.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I'll definitely mull over your perspective. Now, Oscar's success story in the race is quite an interesting one. He started 6th on the grid and ended up 2nd. His secret? Hitting the brakes at the right time and watching everyone else go off.
That's quite a simple yet effective strategy, isn't it? It seems he'd a bit of luck on his side as well.
Right, it seems like the heavens parted way for him. It did make me wonder, though, were the other drivers just not paying enough attention, or was Oscar just exceptionally good?
Ha ha ha, now that's quite an insinuation. It's important to remember that every race varies and there are so many factors at play.
You're perfectly correct. It's all speculation on my part. Maybe all the drivers were just pushing flat out because of the 3 stops. Oscar did mention, however, that it was the hardest race he has ever done. He described it as extremely hot.
It's not just about the strategy and the car. Perhaps we underestimate the physical and mental toll these races take on the drivers. Quite a fascinating insight, don't you think?
Lando Norris had quite a remarkable drive, moving from P10 on the grid to a podium finish. He mentioned that they knew they had great pace, and once they were through turn 1, a podium finish seemed possible.
He even went on to suggest that they could have, at points in the race, been a bit quicker than Verstappen. Now, that's a bold claim to make.
Yes, it is. But it raises a question in my mind, could they really have been faster than Verstappen? Sounds a bit unlikely, don't you agree?
It does seem far-fetched. Perhaps we should give Victoria a ring?
Excellent idea. Let's call her quickly. Hello Victoria, hope you're well. We're debating Norris's claim about being faster than Verstappen. Could you shed some light on this? I see. Right. Thank you Victoria, your input is always enlightening. Catch you later.
So, what's the verdict?
Well, it turns out that at certain points in the race, McLaren was indeed faster than Verstappen's car. Our reliable Victoria has confirmed it.
That's a surprising revelation. I must admit, I didn't see that coming.
Neither did I. I suppose it's a reminder that in racing, anything is possible. Norris seems to have a bit of a mixed feeling about his performance, doesn't he? Despite a podium finish, he feels he didn't achieve what he could have.
It's quite common among high-performing athletes. They are always striving for more. It's what pushes them to keep getting better.
he also mentioned about struggling with the dirty air when he got closer to Oscar. This aspect of racing is often overlooked but can significantly affect a driver's pace.
Indeed, it's one of those invisible barriers on the track. The airflow off the car in front can create turbulence that decreases traction and increases tire wear for the following car.
You've got it spot on. Now, did you catch Norris's remark about being able to push, even towards the end of stints? It suggests that McLaren's tire degradation wasn't bad. This, coupled with maintaining the tires in a good condition, shows that they're getting closer to their optimal performance.
Yes, it seems like they are making progress, even if it doesn't always translate into results. It will be interesting to see how this develops in future races.
The drivers have also raised concerns about the physical demands of the race. They've mentioned the extreme heat and the enclosed cars that get uncomfortably hot to the point where it's almost dangerous. Can you imagine racing at such high speeds in those conditions?
I can barely stand the heat of an English summer, let alone racing in a hot car.
I remember this one time I was in my car during a heatwave and I thought I was going to pass out. It's really intense.
Oh, please? Comparing sitting in a car during a heatwave to racing in a Formula One car? Really?
Well, granted, it's not the same intensity, but it does give you a glimpse into what it might feel like.
I suppose you're right. I may have scoffed there, and I apologize for that. The heat exhaustion can be a serious issue, and it's something that needs to be addressed for the safety of the drivers.
So, Singapore and Miami have been pointed out as some of the most challenging races due to their heat and humidity. It's interesting to see how different conditions affect the drivers, isn't it?
Absolutely, and throw in all the high speed and tight corners, it's a monumental task.
Speaking of monumental tasks, imagine racing in one of these cars, mate. I mean, I'm out of breath just sprinting for the bus.
Ha ha ha, and forget about parallel parking.
Oh, don't even mention it. Imagine trying to reverse park a Formula One car.
Ha ha ha, that's something I'd pay to see, mate.
It's interesting to hear these drivers discuss their chances for the championship. It seems there's this shared belief that anything can happen, and that's part of the excitement of the sport, isn't it?
Absolutely. But do you think this optimism also comes from a place of pressure to perform, or just a natural competitive spirit?
I think it's a bit of both, really. There is definitely pressure to perform, especially with the points gap closing in. But, at the same time, these drivers are in the sport because they're immensely competitive. They always strive for the top spot, regardless of the odds.
True. Do you think then, that the team's performance and their pit crew's efficiency plays a significant role in boosting their confidence?
Yes, indeed. It's all interconnected. A good pit stop can save precious seconds in a race, and that can make all the difference. It's fascinating how every small detail can add up to have a big impact on the race. It's fascinating to hear about the details that go into maintaining tire conditions during a race. It's not just about speed, but longevity as well.
Absolutely, it's a delicate balance.
Did you know that some drivers lick their tires before the race to ensure they have the optimal tire temperature?
What? Are you pulling my leg?
Ha ha ha, yes, I am. They absolutely do not do that.
Good heavens, I almost believed you. You had me there.
The aspect of legacy is particularly compelling, isn't it? Every driver seems to have a unique way of giving back to the sport. Some with social causes, others through nurturing young talent.
Indeed. It's fascinating to see Max's focus on sim racing. Do you think that's a feasible path to professional racing?
Absolutely. Sim racing provides an accessible way into the sport for those who might not have the means to start karting at a young age. And with the technology we have today, sim racing can closely replicate real-world conditions, making it a solid training ground.
So, we might see a future where F1 drivers emerge not just through traditional karting, but through sim racing as well.
That's the possibility. It's quite exciting, isn't it? William, what's cooking in the virtual world? Any interesting conversations going on?
Let's see. We have a comment from Keith Nichols here. He says, quote, "There's no way Perez will make it to 2024. I'm aware that Red Bull keeps iterating that Checo will be driving next year. However, in particular Helmut Marko has now made multiple remarks that he might be replaced mid-season already. Why would a team proceed with a driver that will stay at Max for another year if they're already discussing to get rid of him halfway through, the same driver that has been lapped by his own teammate in today's race in Qatar?" Unquote.
Interesting perspective Keith has there, isn't it?
Indeed. And there's a rather heated debate in the comments. Diane Lewis says, quote, "Until recently I didn't think there was a real chance of Perez losing P2 in the championship. He's really lucky with the rise of McLaren now that there are 4 other teams and their drivers stealing points from each other, unquote.
That's a fair point, I must say.
Brian Dawkins chimes in, quote, he was lucky Hamilton didn't finish today. He could have taken some good points away from Perez here, seeing the pace of that Mercedes, unquote.
Spot on, Brian. Anything else catching your eye, William?
Here's an interesting point from Jackson Ross, quote, I've said it before but I think they know he is gone but will not announce it till after the season. At least partly due to the Mexico race upcoming later this year and all the positive publicity they get during that race, unquote.
Oh, the intrigue. Any rebuttals?
Kelly Holmes had a response to that, quote, Red Bull would have an angry mob on their hands in Mexico if they did, unquote. Quite a debate going on.
Seems like it. By the way, how are the fans reacting to this?
Reading through the comments, it seems there's a mixed bag of reactions. But one thing's clear, the fans are definitely watching and speculating. Can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Well, it's been a thrilling ride through the world of Formula One today on the F1 Motor Fever podcast. We've unpacked some fantastic insights, discussed hot topics and even dipped into the buzzing world of social media discussions. Huge thanks to all our listeners for joining us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and activate notifications so you're always in the loop. Share our podcast with your mates, on your social channels, and wherever you're talking F1, we appreciate your support. Your comments fuel our discussions, so keep them coming.
And remember, there's always more where this came from. We're here every day with fresh updates, so make sure you tune in. We've got plenty more in store for you. And we're just as excited as you are for what's coming up next.
Remember folks, pedal to the metal, keep your gaze on the road, our channel's content is pure gold. Thanks for being with us today, we're looking forward to the next episode. Until then, stay safe and keep loving the sport.